Today, the December 12th, 2022, the talk in continuation of what has been explained about Pamāda and Appamāda. On previous day, it's been all explained that there are three kinds of Pamāda. The first one is letting one's mind go freely on misconduct, bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, mental misconduct, letting the mind go free and not having control repeatedly again and again commits wrongdoings by body, speech, and mind. It is the gross form of Pamāda. So in order to avoid Pamāda from arising, practicing morality, one can avoid the misconduct by body and speech. But the mental misconduct should be avoided through the practice of samadhi and panya practice. The medium form of Pamāda, medium form of negligence, is letting one's mind go freely in enjoying sense objects such as seeing pleasant visible objects, hearing a pleasant sound, smelling perfume, fragrance, eating favorite food, tasty, delicious food, and then the bodily touch, bodily touch with soft fabric, as well as bodily touch with opposite sex, and so on. The bodily touch of nice air from the aircon, enjoying, letting one's mind go freely on these sense objects, and without control, repeatedly enjoying these sense objects is medium form of Pamāda. Yogis in the meditation, when doing intensive meditation, should not let such kind of Pamāda from arising. Practicing mindfulness, yogis should pay attention to the primary object when doing sitting meditation, walking meditation, general activities, so that the mind will not go on to these sense objects, not thinking about pleasant things to be here, to be seen, to be heard, to be tasted, to be touched, and so on. And even if thoughts about these sense objects arise during sitting meditation, if thoughts about these sensual objects arise, thinking about the past, how one had seen pleasant sights, pleasant sound, and so on. If such kind of thought arise, one should note it right away as thinking, remembering, so that this medium form of Pamāda will not continue to arise. And in daily activities, in walking meditation, if these thoughts of these sense objects arise, do not let the mind go free. Just bring the mind back to the steps during walking meditation, noting right, left, lifting, placing, lifting, moving, placing. Also, when eating, be mindful of all the activities, seeing the food, noted, seeing, wanting. When you lift your hand, lifting, reaching, grabbing, bringing, and then opening, putting, closing, chewing, swallowing. In this way, one mind will not have this enjoyment of the food. There will not be tanha arising on the food that has been eaten. So in this way, yogis should be mindful in the eating, chewing, swallowing, and when you taste, also be mindful, tasting. If it is good, note it good. If it is tasty, note it tasty, so that being mindful, one will not get attached with what has been eaten. In this way, medium form of Pamāda has been avoided by being mindful at the present moment, being mindful. Refined form of Pamāda, as explained, is Kusalana Vadamana Bhavanaya Asakacha Kriyata, Asatacha Kriyata, Anatita Kriyata. Meaning, in the development of wholesome action, if one does not develop this wholesome action respectfully, meticulously, continuously, if one doesn't do it continuously, if one is stopping, breaking, in stopping, going manner, it is Pamāda, that is refined. Yeah, in the word kusala, kusala means wholesome, but there is the meaning that is in the word kusala. Kusala are the wholesomeness that are blameless, faultless, and that brings good benefit. So wholesome deeds such as dana, sila, bhavana. These wholesomeness, they are blameless, faultless, and bring good benefit. Kusalana va dhammana, dhamma. So usually we just translate just as dhamma. But the hidden meaning is the dhamma is the practice that uplifts, saves, and protects the practitioner who practices it. So that the Dhamma guards, protects, uplifts, and protects the person who practices it, so that the person will not become low, the person will not be degraded, the person will not fall into the abaya. In this way, the Dhamma saves, protects, uplifts the person who practices it. Bhavanaya, in developing, it means that one initiate For example, when one is practicing Satipatthana meditation, noting the presently arising object, aiming, directing the mind onto the object, putting effort in noting the object so that there is viriya, the mindfulness sticking onto the object, sati, samadhi, the mind fall calm, collected on the object. In this way, by noting the presently arising object, one initiates viriya, sati, samadhi, not just one time, but one repeatedly notes again and again, rising, falling, and so on, again and again, repeatedly, one after another, moment after moment. Noting thus, viriya, sati, samadhi being developed one after another, repeatedly again and again. So it becomes increased. Viriya, sati, samadhi become continuous and increased. It is called bhavana, initiating as well as increasing, so that viriya, sati, samadhi, and panya is cultivated moment by moment, one after another. It is mental development practice. In the practice of Satipatthana, if one doesn't practice respectfully, asakacha kriyata, not practicing respectfully. So if one knows the benefits of Satipatthana meditation, that this Satipatthana meditation can bring benefits such as purification of the mind, overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, getting rid of physical pain, mental distress, attaining the path knowledge, realizing Nibbana. If one understands the benefit of Satipatthana meditation, one should have the saddha, faith and confidence in the practice, and one should have the chanda, strong will to gain these benefits. And thus, one will be able to practice respectfully, meticulously, thoroughly the object, such as rising, falling, sitting, touching, thinking, pain, and so on. In order to practice, to be mindful respectfully, it is said, Chakumasa yatha ando. Even though yogi has good eyesight, but yogi should be like a blind person. Meaning that during the practice, during the sitting meditation, keeping the eyes closed so that one doesn't get distracted by what one sees. During walking meditation, keeping the eyes down, looking only about 6 feet ahead of where you are going, but not paying attention to what you see, so that you won't get distracted with what you see. And also going from one place to another, always keeping the eyes down, not looking here and there. If one is looking here and there, one get easily distracted. So as a yogi, always keep the eyes down during the walking meditation, during going from one place to dining hall, to the room, to the Dharma hall, always keeping the eyes down. Sotava patiro yatha. Even though yogi has good hearing, but yogi should act like a deaf person, meaning that yogi should not be deliberately listening to the surrounding. So in the surrounding, there are various kinds of noises and sound. But as a yogi, do not pay attention to the sounds and noises that are around. To be able to be mindful, to be able to concentrate on what is arising at the present moment, rising, falling, or sitting, touching, or a pain. So in this way, do not deliberately listen to the sounds. And if the mind gets distracted by what you hear during sitting meditation, just note it as hearing. Do not go into detail what it is. Note it hearing a few times, and then come back to rising, falling, or sitting, touching. And also, even though the person is a good intellect and smart, but during the practice, do not be reflecting on the theory. Do not be reflecting on the theory. Just be mindful at the presently arising object. If it is rising, note it as rising. If it is falling, note it as falling. If it is sitting, note it as sitting. If it is touching, note it as touching. Do not be reflecting, is it Vayo Dhatu or is it Pathavi Dhatu? Is this air element or is it earth element? Do not be analyzing. Do not be analyzing the theory. So, Panya Vasa Yatha Muko, even though you are a clever person, one must act like a dumb person during the intensive practice, not to be analyzing the theory. Because analyzing the theory, it takes time away from noticing, it takes time away from being mindful of the presently arising object. If you are thinking this and that, and so on. And also, as a yogi, one should not talk a lot. One should not be talking to the other yogi. One should not be talking with others, except for when you come for interview, you can explain your experience, short to the point. Conversations should also kept as minimum as possible so that one can concentrate on the practice. Balawa Dopaloriva. Even though the yogi is a healthy person, but as a yogi in the intensive meditation practice, should move slowly, mindfully, just like a sick person. A sick person who is weak and feeble cannot move around quickly. In the same way, yogi, even though healthy, should move slowly, just like a weak and sick person. If one is moving too fast, one cannot keep pace. To note these movements, that's why yogis should move slowly, just like a sick person. When you sit down also, a sick person who is weak cannot quickly sit down. one should sit slowly. So as a yogi, when sitting down, at first one must note the intention to sit. And when sitting down, sit slowly, mindfully, inch by inch, so that one can pay attention to the body getting heavier, heavier, heavier. So sit slowly, inch by inch, to be able to pay attention, concentrate on the actual sitting. In the same way, when walking from one place to another, walk slowly, mindfully. Some of the yogi I see walking, swinging the hand. Please don't do it. If you swing your hand while you are walking, then you can get distracted on this swinging hand. So when you are going from one place to another, please keep your hand collected at the front or at the back, but do not swing your hand while you are walking. So as a yogi, you should move slowly, mindfully. Asatacha kriyata. If one is practicing with breaks in between, gaps in between, it is Pamāda. During the intensive retreat, yogis are asked to note continuously one after another, without gaps, without breaks in between. If there are gaps or breaks in between, then the Viriya, Sati, Samadhi will not be as strong. And it will not be as strong, and knowledge will take longer to develop. So one must be careful so that there should not be breaks or gaps between the mindfulness. So every time the abdomen rises, note the rising with aiming, directing the mind onto the object, putting effort in the noting so that mindfulness will stick onto the object, the concentration, the mind will fall calm, collected on the object. Keep on noting again and again, one after another, moment by moment, so that there will be no gaps or breaks in between. If there are gaps or breaks in between the mindfulness, what can arise is the defilement can enter the mind. At the moment, there is a break, there is a gap between the mindfulness. And mindfulness and concentration will be weak, and then it will take longer to gain knowledge. Anattita kriyata, if one is not consistent in the mindfulness, if one is taking rest, stopping in between, it is Pamāda. A yogi must note the object without resting, without stopping in between. From the time one wakes up, until the yogi falls asleep at night, during the entire day, yogi should keep on noting the presently arising object without stopping, without resting in between. And it is Appamāda, noting continuously without stopping, without resting. During the whole day, the yogi is awake. And I would like to explain with the example that our Sayadaw explains with. On trees, you might see the chameleon. Chameleon is a kind of a reptile that lives in trees. They feed on insects. So when the chameleon sees an insect, it will rush, and then it will stop in between, nodding, looking here and there. And then again, would rush to go and eat the insect. And then again, in between, it will stop, nodding, turning head here and there. Our Sayadaw compares the yogi who doesn't practice continuously, but Sayadaw compares the yogi who practices, who is mindful in stop and go manner. Sayadaw compares this yogi to a chameleon yogi, not practicing, not being mindful continuously, practicing in stop and go manner, noting rising, falling, sitting, touching, and then will stop in between, daydreaming, and also like doing walking meditation, right, left, and then will look around, the head turning here and there, looking around, gazing. So Sayadaw compares this yogi to a chameleon. He said, don't be a chameleon yogi. Sayadaw said, the chameleon, even though he stopped, but he still gets to eat the insect and his food. But the chameleon yogi doesn't. The chameleon yogi doesn't make progress. So this is how our Sayadaw give example of a yogi who doesn't practice continuously, but being mindful in stop and go manner, gazing here and there, looking around, not being mindful. So when you note the object, aim and direct the mind onto the object, putting effort in noting the object. Moment by moment, one after another, so that mindfulness will develop, concentration will develop. So when Viriya, Sati, Samadhi become continuous, it will become stronger and knowledge unfolds itself, discerning the nature, characteristic of the object that has been noted. Yeah. So one must note so that the mindfulness should not be superficial, but really penetrate into the object that has been noted. So I will give you an example. Yeah. So please look. So please pay attention to your hand. Yeah. Aim your mind onto the hand. Put effort in noting, and slowly close your hand. Slowly, mindfully closing, until it becomes a fist. Yeah, please do it slowly, mindfully. Yeah, so please slowly, mindfully pay attention, closing. And pay attention to your hand. Yeah, concentrate on it. Be mindful, pay attention, concentrate on it. Okay, so when you are mindful of it, what do you know? Okay, pay attention. What do you know? Other yogi, what do you notice? What is it?
Stiffness.
Stiffness, yes, stiffness. Heavy, yes.
Kaku, berat.
Hard. Hot.
Panas.
Yes, hot, yes. Numbness, yes. Anyone else?
Ada yang lain?
Sweat.
Berkeringat.
Wet, yeah. Yeah, moist, yeah,
basah.
sweat, yeah. Anything else? Soft or hard? So it is just an example, yeah. When you are mindful of the closing of the hand, pay attention, concentrate on the fist, you can come to notice tension, stiffness, hardness, warmth, hot, moist, heaviness. Because you pay attention, you can come to notice the nature, what is in this. Yeah. So one yogi might notice it as tightness, one yogi might notice it as hard, another yogi might notice it as warmth. All of them are right in their own way, because in our body, they are the 4 elements that are the most obvious. The air, the Patavi Dhatu, the earth element, one can notice it as hardness, softness. Tejo Dhatu, temperature element, can be noticed as warmth, heat, cold. Vayo Dhatu can be the air element, can be noticed as movement, pulling, pushing, stiffness, tension. And Apo Dhatu, water element, can be noticed as fluidity, cohesion, moisture. So when you pay attention to the hand, at times you might notice it as hardness, at times you might notice it as a heat, tension, stiffness, warmth, heaviness, and so on. Because you pay attention, you come to notice the nature, what is there. You come to notice the characteristics, what is there in the hand. In the same way, whatever you note, rising, falling, or sitting, touching, or lifting, moving, placing, bending, stretching, whatever object you note, if you pay attention, if you really aim your mind towards the object, if you really put in effort in the noting, when the mindfulness concentration develop, you can notice the nature in the object that you are noting, such as stiffness, tension, warmth, heat, cold, pulling, pushing, pressure, warmth, stickiness, and so on. So this is explained as a theory, but when you are noting the object, do not be analyzing the theory that has been explained. Just note the object with aim and effort, and you can come to notice any of the nature, any of the characteristics. Just like when you pay attention to your hand, you could notice the stiffness, tension, and so on. In the same way, rising, falling, or sitting, touching, or lifting, moving, placing. If you pay attention, you can come to notice any of the nature of the object that you are noting. Yeah. So time is up. Yeah. May you all be able to practice noting the object with aim and effort so that you can discern the nature, characteristics, and attain knowledge stage by stage until you reach your goal in meditation.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.